Granny, how did you become Senior of the Year?
Well, all my life I've worked in theatre as an actor and a director and a writer, and then 27 years ago I decided, because I love collecting stories, listening to stories, telling stories, and I think stories are part of what human beings are, it's in our DNA, and theatre is about stories. I wanted to combine my interest in theatre and in the kind of stories that I hear around the place from seniors. And I thought, how can I turn those stories into theatre and then pass them on to other generations? So I started an intergenerational theatre telling stories company called Aging Theatre, and that became later Theatre 180. And I became Senior of the Year because of the kind of work I was doing with seniors, but also because I was working with seniors with dementia, which is a bit more unusual, and finding out how we can tell their stories in an interesting way that celebrates them and affirms their value.
How do you use innovative ways to tell stories?
Well, this is interesting, isn't it? I think theatre itself is quite an innovative way of telling stories, really. Although even telling stories around a campfire sort of 60,000 years ago in Australia was probably a sort of theatre of itself, wasn't it? But nowadays we have so many more technological ways of enhancing a story. And so one of the things we do is with cinema, we present theatre on stage. This is a Theatre 180 invention, on stage with a cinema backdrop, which can enhance the story in so many different ways, and it's like the set of a play but on a screen, and that makes it very exciting for an audience, and it illuminates lots of things in the text. But also, even if we don't have the screen to help us, there are all sorts of things we can employ. We use dance and music and very physical theatre, so that it's not just words but the moves that add to the story. But also, when I'm working with people with dementia, what we try and do is utilise the five senses as much as we can, because I think that when you're very young, you lay down important memories that have great emotional significance, and you remember physical details about those stories that you often don't in your later memories, or not so much anyway. And so I find that if we use things like the sense of smell, that we take our stories out to seniors and we have with us things that smell, things like lavender or soap or floor polish or tea or coffee or any of those kind of things, that helps elicit memories. And also music, of course, and sound, and physical things, the touch. So we use fabrics like silk or fur, or we might take something like an object from the past with us that we tell the story around. Just ways of making the stories come very real and alive to people. You've been in some of the shows that we've done. What was your favourite one? That, you know, what sort of techniques did we use?
My favourite one was probably Between Wind and Water.
Ah, the one about stories from Fremantle.
Yeah, because I enjoyed playing the children from the different eras, and I like how there was a lot of variety in the age differences in the cast. The youngest, me, was 8.
Yes.
And the oldest was around 80, so there was a lot of different ages.
Yes, that intergenerational aspect is really helpful in telling stories, isn't it? And also, I remember we did playground games from different ages in some of the shows, and that immediately took the seniors in the audience back to the age they lived in, and then you children showed the seniors in the audience the sort of games you play today and how they differ and that kind of thing, and music from the different eras, of course, makes such a difference to stories. It instantly transports you back in time. So yeah, that's really lovely. And so yeah, I think stories mean so much to us, and it's important that we tell stories about ourselves, about our lives. We explain our lives to ourselves, we explain the world to ourselves, we explain ourselves to others. And it's so important that we listen to other people's stories and we learn so much from them. So the more interesting ways we can find of telling stories, the better, really. And the wonderful thing about it is that everyone has a story to tell, and we never run out of stories. Not ever.